Hey guys, this is Grandmaster Max Illingworth. In this game, I'm going to be playing 4-player chess, just for some fun. So, in 4-player chess, I have this very specific system I like to play, which you'll get to see in this game. It's where I push the rook's pawns 2 pawns forward to start, in order to grab space on these two sides of the board, and dissuade the other sides from attacking me. So I play a5 and h5. Whereas a corner, it's a little bit different, but I just look at it from my side of the board. So already this guy playing blue is trying to queen a pawn quite early. I find this to be a strategy that I'm usually quite happy to see people play for, because if they have an extra queen, they tend to get ganged up on, which is why I tend to focus on just getting the pieces developed and building a really solid position, rather than trying to just get a queen right away. I try to keep my pawn strong for later, so when the dust settles and a lot of players have traded pieces, I can build up my setup. So he's threatening to take my pawn here, but I don't see that as a big problem. I'll just defend it with b6 next move. That's why this guy trolls me as I bishop c6. But you can see that green here is also wanting to build a solid setup, whereas black is probably going to be trying to be more aggressive in general. Or he might just develop after getting the queen out. But anyway, he's the one who I think is going to have all the heat here. So that works quite well for me. And, I mean, yeah, basically I'm just going to continue playing quite solidly. Might start with g6, just because when he plays a3, I don't have to worry about that bishop being attacked later. So sort of how I played it. When I push these pawns up, they often push the rook's pawn one square. That allows me to safely tuck the bishops on g7. And on b7 without fear of a surprise attack as such. So he might be thinking of some queen f6 to troll me at some point. So I'll just defend with bishop g7. Also, one tip when it comes to king safety is here black and white should basically put the king on f8. And the reason is that if you were to castle, they might go b3 and try to go takes on a4 and open up the king that way. But another trick I like to do is I like to not commit where my king is just yet, because what sometimes happens is one player drops connection or just forgets about the game and they end up losing on time. In that case, I may prefer to castle on that side where my king would be a lot safer. So I like to develop the other pieces first and kind of keep him guessing as to where my king will go, so that I'm harder to attack. Because basically in this game, the last thing you want is to have someone just throwing all their pieces at attacking you. So the best strategies tend to be aimed at avoiding that sort of event. I'm going to push... Actually, I'm going to push d5. I'm pretty sure I'll put my king on f8 from here. Because when you've played c5, it's much less desirable to castle queen side. And I only do it if this side is really greatly weakened. So I'll put my king on f8. That way it's also hard for me to trade off my rook as well. So I can keep the pieces for the later game. Another thing I often do in these 4-player games is I like to keep my pieces pretty well protected, because that minimises the chance of someone going for some sort of tactic against me. So I'm probably going to put my rook on d7 or possibly on c8. So b4 is giving me a chance to take on passant and try to win a pawn, but also opens up my king a little bit. So I'm going to play rook to d8 in this position and just play really solidly here. I'm thinking I might put my knight on d4 and put a knight on f5 and just have the two knights defending the king really solidly from that position. So that's what I'll do. I'll play knight d4. So my opening is somewhat inspired by the very good player of 4-player chess, Hest. Because what Hest does, he goes for a similar setup. Just playing extremely solidly and making it very hard for the opponent to try to attack him. Actually, knight d4 is not a great idea because he could consider queen to e5. But I'm sort of carrying on the fact that he probably won't want to trade off my queens. Because basically, we should try to help the side that's opposite one another. So for now, it's almost like a team game between me and yellow versus blue and green here. So I'm actually going to play rook c8. By moving back and forth, it makes me look a bit more vulnerable. So less likely to kind of attack me. It's kind of annoying how yellow has kind of stopped me playing e5, where I'm not going to gamble e5 against him because, well, it's just a bit of a risk. Love this guy's comment, will you fight today? That's a funny one. I'll play knight f5 because I want to prepare king to g8 and keep my king really safe from the attack. I can see that blue is also preparing the castle. So this is going to be... Oh wow, he missed a free queen. That is not ideal. Maybe I can punish it with knight takes and get a free pawn perhaps. No, I won't try and punish him. I'll just play e5 instead, because he's surely going to take that queen. Be really shocked if he doesn't, to be honest. Okay, there's a free queen, and that's really good for my team because basically now we have a nice material advantage, essentially up one queen. And I mean, king is actually very safe now on a square like g8 because, well, this guy here has one less queen. And he also moves just before I do, so it means I'm much more likely to be able to deal with any threats that come. I mean, for example, if he moves the knight here and tries to give a check, I can always tuck the king away on h7, which I might do anyway, actually, because it's very hard for him to kind of get the king on this file. I should probably also try and get my b7 bishop to square like e6 to make sure my king is as safe as possible. So I think I'll play rook d8. If I'm moving back and forth a little bit, they probably won't think I'm a grandmaster as well. They'll think, oh yeah, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. So I'm going to try and look vulnerable deliberately and try to use it to my advantage with rook to d8. So obviously I shouldn't take this to extremes, but the point is that these guys are kind of killing each other. You can see white took black's queen, and now black's going to take it back. And the result is that all three of these sides are weakened. So I'm actually in the best position currently if you discount the fact that black has an extra queen, which we don't really care about because that just makes him more of a target anyway. And I should probably defend this queen at some point. Now I can play bishop e6 and rook d7 without fearing the attack from their bishop on this diagonal. So that works quite well for me. In terms of long-term plan, basically I'm going to put my rooks probably on e8 and h8 and just start to gradually push my pawns in the center, but only when a lot of the pieces have been traded already. If I try to push too soon, they're just going to stop me queening or try to attack me. So I'll just keep this solid position. And the only way they can really attack me is to try and get the knight to this square and towards this, well, I'll call it g5. So maybe I should just wait a little bit with rook d7 and just keep everything well protected for the moment. I can probably get away with a move like d4 because I don't have anything on that diagonal. On the other hand, if I keep these pawns back here, they're also not likely to get traded. So that's certainly something going for me. I'm going to tease him with knight g4 and just toy with this idea of taking the pawn on a3. It's not something I'm really going to do, but I just want to kind of bait my opponent a little bit, thinking, oh, I'd better defend this, and kind of slow him up a little bit like that. So from here, I just want to let them queen and let all the pieces trade in the center, and then I'll take my chances a bit later in the game. That's right, he could play the knight here. Yeah, it's a good move by him. Can sort of annoy him with this knight coming into g5, and I don't really want to play f6 because it does weaken my king a little bit, but under the circumstance, it's probably the best move. Because at the moment, it's all very locked up on this side of the board. He doesn't have an easy way to get into my position. So I can probably get away with pushing the pawn even though I wouldn't normally want to as my first choice. I'll just tuck my bishop away on f7 and then my king will be pretty safe with the two knights and the two bishops, the rook and the pawns defending it. So in terms of black's plan, you can see he's just trying to queen as many pawns as possible, which okay, just makes him more of a target. Green is trying to do the same thing. So yeah, this is looking pretty decent so far. Right? I don't have any weaknesses. I haven't lost any pieces, and also you might notice I'm not rushing to take any of the opponent's pieces, because if I get too many points, I'll just become a target. So again, I'm going to wait until near the end when I can, perhaps make some more threats. Again, I might just annoy him a little bit with queen b7, just try and slow black up a little bit, where he can push his pawn, but at least I can take a pawn and get 1 point towards the count. Also, you might notice we are playing with 40 extra points here, so you can read out that basically when you checkmate or take their king, you get 40 points instead of the usual 20. Also, you can see that when you promote a pawn, it doesn't just become a 1 point queen, but it becomes a 9 point queen. So if you can take one of these promoted queens, it really is quite good for your score as such. I don't like my queen on b7 because there's all this potential pin as such. So I might just play queen c7 and just keep everything well protected again. And you can see that black is really going after white's throat. I think the reason they're really attacking each other is because of this checkmate being an extra 40 points. However, I think that keeping the pieces on is sort of worthwhile, where what I find is that in these sort of positions, it really doesn't matter that much if one player checkmates, because then the other two will gang up on him and you can still checkmate later. I mean, if you checkmate, let's say, 2 opponents, that's enough to generally win the game, almost certainly to win the game. So it means that if one player sort of checkmates, it's not necessarily the end of the world as such. I know this allows knight g5 check, so in general it's not the most advisable idea. But I think I can get away with this because I'm going to play rook e8 and king h8, and then I think my king will be pretty secure. I mean, it's probably not worth it for him to give up a knight just to damage my pawn structure here. So I'll just keep developing solidly, rook e8, and can tuck the king away on g8 or something. Even h8 also is possible. Not sure which one I would prefer necessarily, but maybe I'd choose h8. It's hard to say. So, kind of funny, this guy's comment, will you fight today? And then like, no, after the queen was taken. It's funny because I was so busy talking about the the position and the plans that I just totally forgot to look at the chat. You also notice I don't actually type anything in the chat. And the reason is I don't want my opponents to know I'm a Grandmaster, or they're all probably going to gang up on me. It'll be nearly impossible for me to win if all 3 of them are attacking me. So I'm just going to keep my position solid, avoid any checks. And I mean, he doesn't really have any way to attack me easily. Basically, 2 of them would have to gang up on me in order to attack me effectively. You can see that this guy, yellow, is getting beaten up, so I don't really mind if he loses so much. It'd be better if one of the guys to my side loses, but sometimes it's not so possible. And yeah, now the tactics are going down. I'm going to risk d4 actually, because it might be useful in some positions to have the pawn coming. Also, that means I don't look like I'm just doing nothing and waiting for them to kill each other, saying, okay, actually maybe I do have an idea in this position. The reason I usually wait with this is I was a bit worried maybe they can push the pawn and try to take my pawn. On the other hand, sometimes in this game you're actually happy if you take one of your pawns. Say if this pawn is off the board, for example, and my rooks would get a nice open file for an attack, and I could start to take some pieces then. So it's all a question like situations, what the best plan is. So I think they trade on b6, right? So the green king is a little bit exposed. I don't really see a constructive plan for me, so I'll just play king g8 and just wait. It helps a lot that I've got this bishop covering this diagonal, otherwise my king would be quite weak. I could probably get away with pushing this pawn up 1 square because he can't really attack it or trade it so easily. So while these guys are killing each other, I can play move like pawn to c4 and have a reasonable game that way. So he could try the bishop out, but then his own king will get a bit too weak, and it's kind of a bad move for both of us in a sense. Yeah, and you also might notice how it's really hard for them to get past green's pawns as well as my own for trying to attack my king. I think I will play this pawn move next. It just kind of feels right. I mean, it does open up this diagonal of the bishop, which is not ideal. But I don't have anything on that diagonal, so I can kind of get away with it. Again, you can see they're both kind of ganging up on yellow. So they're kind of weakening themselves to damage yellow as such, and not going after me. I mean, one interesting idea could be that, say, when this queen comes under attack, I could play a move like b5 and use the fact that taking would lose the queen. Say after knight e4, for example. And okay, he's got another queen, so it's probably not the right time to go b5 because that piece is under attack. But I'll play rook c8 and just sort of keep the position really tidy and compact here. So, curious to see what black will try. Maybe he'll try and put his king to a safer post. You can see he's kind of going for the attack, and yellow's in a bit of a dilemma, so you can't really avoid a queen exchange. You might notice how yellow gained more points by taking that queen early, but what's happened now is that basically they're both going after him because he has the most points. And I don't have any points, so they're not afraid of me. They're saying, well, Illingworth here is not a threat. But I think that later on we'll see who the real threat is. So yeah, it's still not a position where I can really do all that much. So I think I'll just retreat the queen and just have a battery along this file. And I'm sort of hoping he'll play knight e4, but he probably isn't because of the attack here. And he can't go rook f... Oh, he did play knight e4. Well, that works quite well for me. So I could go b5 and kind of improve my pawn structure for free. So that will be quite a fun idea for me, let's say. They don't even really have an easy way to attack my piece in a good way. I mean, yeah, it's going knight here to try and keep the pieces on. But now the queen's under attack, I can probably get away with this b5 and kind of push my pawns forward so they can support one another later in the game. So it's probably going to retreat the queen back to some square. I don't think black will play it too aggressively because he needs some pieces for defense as well in the long term. I'll push my pawn at b4 and at least I'll get my pawns moving that way. Also, one tip when you are playing this game is good to keep a good posture to stretch and be in a good physical state as such, because these 4-player games can take quite a while. So okay, I'll push here, and you'll notice how these knights are on outposts at the moment, so they can't be easily attacked. I mean, they could trade them off, but again, it's not something they particularly want to do, though it's something I need to watch out for in the future. Actually, I do have a threat maybe to take his pawn if I want to get 1 point, and obviously he did not permit that. But maybe that gives me the idea to continue to blockade with the knight. I think a knight here could be kind of annoying for them potentially. Also makes it look like I'm doing something, even though I'm not. So I will play the knight here and kind of bait this pawn forward so that the pawns are more likely to be traded later. So, I mean, if I was black, I think I would push this pawn, because I mean, with 2 queens, black's already a bit of a threat, so he may as well try and get a 3rd queen while he can. But he decided to go for defense instead. So, I mean, my pieces are all quite well placed here, actually. It's hard to really point to a single bad piece, because they're all very well protected here. Yeah, I mean, I think my best plan is just to sit and wait, because nobody will really want to attack me here, I think. At least it'll be quite an investment if they did. So I think I can even just play a waiting move, like maybe queen f8 or something. I'll play queen c7 to keep this pawn protected. And yeah, it's really a tough position in terms of how to kind of break through for any side. I almost feel like it's one of these positions where the side that tries to attack first is probably going to lose. Having said that, maybe I can try to bring my knight in and sort of try to annoy him in this way. Also, it makes it feel like we're kind of working together quite well, because otherwise he could block with the knights. But if I play knight e4, it kind of means that the other's piece will get traded. So he kind of hit the idea of the queen coming. So to make sure he can't do some desperate on my knight, I'm just going to move back to safety and let them sort of kill each other once again. So the knight came in. So that's the thing, like they have 2 queens and these guys have 2 queens. So even in the worst case scenario of yellow getting killed off, they're going to kind of go after each other, because even though I'm closer to them, it's very hard to get at my position. So they're going to attack each other, they're going to kill off, some pieces, and then at some moment I can sneak in and sort of get a queen. And this is often what I've done in quite a lot of my games. Actually, pawn up would have been a good move in reply to the knight moving in, but oh well, I might get another chance later. So I'm going to shuffle my knights around. I mean, maybe my knight's actually pretty good on these sort of squares, just kind of stopping white from making any attack on my position. In terms of a useful move, it's hard to say. I mean, I might just move my rook here just to have the rooks doubled up, so that I can think about maybe pushing the pawn and getting my rooks in the attack later. And seeing my position is actually very similar to what it was 10 or 15 moves ago. But both sides are kind of attacking each other, and often one thing to keep in mind, and this is something I only really understood recently, is that 4-player chess is a very emotional game. So if you kind of do something that really hurts someone, if you kind of get the blame for it, they'll sort of go after you and sort of make sure that you don't win, even if it means that they don't have a chance to win. So the key is sort of let them be emotional, but let them be emotional towards other players, not towards you. So we haven't taken any pieces, so there's no reason for them to be mad at me as such. And I've hardly even attacked any of them as such. So I think still it's a fine position for red here. I can think about pushing this pawn. but then he will probably push and my pawn will probably get traded. So again, it might be in my best interest just to wait and see what happens. Yeah, it's a weird position where maybe I can... White arrows I can maybe try and attack this pawn with a knight, but it feels a bit long-winded. So I think I might just put the knight here, and maybe it wasn't the best idea because he can try to take and damage my position. On the other hand, I could also try to bring the knight in, well, when the queen is not covering it, of course. So I think I might just move the knight back this way, and that'd be kind of interesting, actually, to have the knight come here. Because that means my knights are both on nice outposts, and it's going to be really hard for him to get past those knights. Even if they did, they'd still have to get past the pawns. So it'd make it really hard for him to kind of break through in that case. It also makes it look like I'm actually trying to do something, even though my plan is really, with these players, just to sit and wait and kind of let them kill each other as such. So I'm going to put my knight here, just to kind of improve my defensive setup a little bit. I have to be a little bit careful if these pawns are somehow taken, because any yellow would get some open lines to my king, which could be a little bit dangerous, which is why I've got the knights blockading. So I'll put my knight on here and kind of hope that he doesn't try to trade it off. Actually, it gives me a funny idea. Maybe I could play this move, and I was going to say if knight moves, I go knight c4. We just covered it with the rook. So it's quite a high quality game, actually. There aren't really many big mistakes from anyone at this point, I would say. And somehow these guys have actually got away with, getting these queens. Probably because I haven't been attacking them and they've both been going up on yellow, but, these things happen sometimes. I don't see a useful move, so I'll just bring my king back. I don't know why he was laughing. I probably missed something obvious there. But anyway, it's their trouble, not mine. So I could consider a move like d4 and kind of sack the pawn, but basically get my rooks open. I'm wondering if that's a worthwhile trade or not. On the one hand, it would allow me to kind of get my bishop active and activate my rooks. On the other hand, maybe they could use that same diagonal try and attack me later. Though maybe it's a bit hard for either yellow or green to do so at this point. I feel like I should probably make a move at some point. I'm just not sure what the best timing will be. I mean, I guess sometimes, it's just never the best timing and you just have to, decide on your feeling in the game. So I guess I will play... I like the idea of trying to activate my piece a little bit. So I'm going to risk it with rook d5 and not fear the fact that my queen is currently undefended. I'm thinking of putting on c5 and at least having a setup that looks a little bit more active, if nothing else. So yeah, I could also, with a queen c5, maybe again support the push of the pawn. And just also I'm keeping that weak a5 pawn well protected. I mean, all my pawns are actually defended twice now, except for the pawn on c4, which I can defend pretty easily. In fact, rook c5 might be a nice idea. Then all my pawns would actually be defended twice. So yeah, I think I'll do it on the next move if I don't have some sneaky way to punish the opponent. Don't see any big tricks, so let's play rook c5 and keep everything protected. And yeah, I think this is going to end up being a 2 versus 1. So yeah, it was very good timing I said this, because now we're all going to go after the king. And that might give me a chance actually to try and queen a pawn when they're not looking. It's hard though because he's kind of stopping me queening, but maybe I can try to annoy him in some ways. Because they're going to try and stop each other mating the king as such. e4 is a little risky, but maybe it's time to actually make a move. On the other hand, if I don't make a move, I kind of also sort of make it that they'll probably attack each other. So yeah, I'll probably take and get the 40 points. Okay, maybe not. Okay, I might try and keep everything well protected here. I think I'll go back to the rook d7 move. Make sure everything's well guarded. This queen is going on a rampage here. So we could get the 40 points with queen takes c2, but I don't think he's going to here. I think he wants to keep the queen for the attack. So I may have to make a move at some point, but I still am not sure if it's the best time necessarily. I mean, white has, or green has these 2 queens here. And I feel like they're still going to attack one another quite soon. So maybe I can get away with this pawn push. Okay, I'm going to risk it. play pawn here. I might end up regretting it later, but oh well, that's 4-player chess. So my idea can be just to kind of keep the position very solid. He only has one knight, so maybe I can get away with pushing the pawn. It's a bit risky to push the pawn like this, but I think I'm going to go for it. I wondered if his knight could get to this square really easily, but it's kind of hard for him now. The one disadvantage is maybe he can try to trade off the knight, but yeah, it's not so easy. He doesn't really want to trade his bishop for a knight here. So they're probably going to try and queen pawns for each other. Let me see what I could do. I still don't see a particularly constructive plan, so I think I'm just going to play my rook maybe to e6 and just keep my king really well protected. So I think he's going to try and get another queen with this pawn push later. It's going to find out the guy saying blue attack red, because technically you're not allowed to do this in these rules. So you're not allowed to team up with a player when it's this free-for-all version. So I'm probably not going to report him because I don't really care enough about this variant. But yeah, sorry that I don't team. So yeah, I mean I might actually go after each other just for that sort of thing. So yeah, it's funny how the politics kind of work in these sort of games, because yeah, I'm not doing anything, but at the same time they have more firepower than I do as such. I also kind of know what his intention is, so that means I can choose my strategy accordingly. I'm tempted to push the pawn, but I feel like it might be better if I wait. I think I'll play this, and if he takes a knight, then I mean my pawns are very strong. If he takes my pawn, well, then the knight can do some damage to black's position. So it kind of puts black in a bit of a loss-loss situation. You can see he actually didn't take either way, which is kind of funny, because now the knight can move here, and the fork would be a bit unpleasant, actually. So then I can push my pawn, and I'm still not queening the pawn, but at least I'm sort of threatening to queen a pawn at some point, where it could prove useful at a later moment. So I'm going to just let them trade each other. I'm just going to play this and not let him trade my pawn so easily. He's probably going to try and blockade with the knight coming in, but okay. So they traded queens, and I feel like I should kind of let him put the knight here, because if I do, then they're not going to be so worried about attacking me. So I might just put the queen on c8 and just see if he'll defend this pawn. Just something that's a little bit annoying. Sway thinks I'm going to win because, I mean, okay, now I guess they have less firepower than I do, but yeah, you can see how like blue is kind of annoyed at green, so they're going to go after each other, and I mean also blue has all the points. I mean we should kind of try and team up against him actually. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. In fact, I do like the idea of trying to attack this, attacking this pawn here, because it just sort of takes a bit of the edge off blue. I mean, it's about time I kind of get some points as well. I only could try to attack my pawn that way, but heck, I'm going to risk it because I haven't done anything all game. So let's have a little bit of fun here. And also, I mean, I can cover the square of the queen, and it's still not going to be that easy for him to attack me. So the thing is, he's already kind of annoyed at green, so he's like, well, okay, it's not a big deal if I lose this one pawn. Whereas that other pawn that green took was actually about to become a queen. So that's why blue is a bit salty at green in this position. So he brings the knight, and I'll just bring the queen back and attack the knight. Seems like a good plan. I mean, I think that, yeah, I mean, the main thing is that make sure one doesn't just drop out suddenly. That could make things a bit interesting. But I'm in a good position, actually, that I can sort of push my pawns a bit later. Okay, my rook's not protected, but I can fix that in the next move. Maybe I'll put the rook on d6 or something. That could be a viable idea. Because I put the rook a bit more actively if I want to, but I'm going to stick to the solid move. Let's play rook here, and now okay, I wish I went the other way, but that's okay. He's probably going to try and sack the knight for my pawn, but that might not be so bad for me actually, because I will at least get a piece, and my knight can maybe come in the attack. So like I said before, how when they take it, so it helps you open up the files for your pieces. So it's not always a bad thing if they take one of your pawns. So I think the thing is, if he takes, he doesn't have enough firepower to deal with green. I think here I'm doing a good job of kind of keeping the balance and making it that it's sort of unfavourable for either of them to attack me, because I mean I don't have any points really. I'm not a threat at all in this case. So anyway, from this position I can maybe think of putting the knight in. It's a very ambitious idea, but it means if he takes I can maybe try and get a queen perhaps. And still my position is very hard to attack actually, which works well. And as I'm not really causing any trouble for anybody, just playing my solid game and letting them kind of attack still. And that sounds funny because I'm saying attack red or we both lose, but the thing is it's not in blue's best interest to attack me because then green is going to attack him. And for green it's also not best to attack me because then blue might get a queen and, well, how about that? He just got a queen, so that's kind of funny. Is there a way I can try to punish him for taking... It would be interesting to go bishop here, but it's kind of a bishop I want to keep for the defense. So what I might do is I mean, this guy's going for me. I think I need all the pieces I can keep. So I'll put the queen here, and I'll try and bait him into pushing this pawn forward, so I can push my pawn. So I gave you a chance and you blew it. I just love the mind games. It's just so funny. He might take with the rook actually and try to attack the pawn that way. But no, he takes with the knight. I mean, I feel like I should try and do something a little aggressive. So I might put the queen up and... I mean, at least it gets him a bit scared about the queen check one day, perhaps. So I'll play the queen here. It's annoying that my game is a bit laggy, but these things happen sometimes. I mean, when he goes for an attack, I can then think about pushing my pawn, maybe, and use that to my advantage. So, I mean, I have the best position on material, it's true. But I'm down a lot of material, down a lot on points. So I think that still this position is one that I'd say blue is the favourite to win at the moment. At the same time, being the favourite, as I mentioned, is not always a good thing. Sometimes it's better to actually be the guy in second place that no one kind of is afraid of. I sort of feel like I'm in that position now where, I mean, I can push my pawn up here and suddenly I actually have ideas of queening, and it's not that easy for him to stop it, actually. So I think I'm going to make my move and try and get a queen at last. Oh, he brought the rook in. But I can simply take that rook, so it's really not a great idea by him to do this. Unless, green has some incredible attack, but I really... Oh, he could push the pawn, maybe. Maybe that's his idea, to play c5 and go for this. But, yeah, green doesn't see it, and now I'm probably just doing very well. Maybe he wants to try and lure green to trade my queen, because he knows I'm kind of, going for that. I mean, it would be interesting, actually, to sort of sack the queen, just to kind of get the queen back later. I feel like that could have some potential, because otherwise he's going to take and get a queen anyway. So I'm going to sack the queen, and the risk is that he could try and take my pawn and stop my plan, which would be quite a good move, I think. But still, I can get my queen, and I think I'm sort of holding. He's like, wow, but the thing is, he's the one who attacked me. Like, that was the best move for me to stop him getting a queen. So I can get my... he's going to try and take... that's clever. That's clever. Maybe I can take the knight and try and get some more material that way. Or I can take the pawn, and that'll allow me to queen later on. So, I mean, this guy was going for me anyway, and I always have this check as well if I want to, take a move away from white. So, and also they're quite low on time. I think the quality of their moves is going to decrease by quite a bit as well. I could push the pawn, but I almost feel like it's better to kick the knight away so that I can queen my pawn more easily. And he can take, but then I'll take back, and still my king will be, I think, reasonably safe in that position. Also, the trades kind of get me a few more points, which I kind of need to win here. I just have to hope that the green doesn't do something to really mess with my game. Could actually push the queen here and then try to take this pawn. That would actually be a bit annoying. He's going for a different idea. If I take, he might go h5, but I can always take it. So I think I will take with the pawn and improve my structure a bit. Now we could take this pawn, and that's probably what green's idea is. No, it's not. He wants to try and attack me like that. Okay, in that case I will take and say I want a pawn. But they're both kind of coming after me. Like, the rook can come in, and I mean, the good thing is at least blue doesn't have a lot of pieces left, but I do have to be kind of careful here. I think I will get a queen, because I can always get another one if they do attack me. See, after this, you could put the rook here. That would be really quite annoying for me. I mean, to be honest, this is, yeah, really turning against me, but maybe I can put the queen here first and attack the king, and then he might go after someone else rather than me. So maybe that's worth a try. Play a check and see if that changes things at all. Because at least he can't take my bishop in that case. So, yeah, it's a really weird position. He could put the queen here and that would completely mess up my game. But yeah, I thought he played a rook here. So my gamble sort of paid off. Well, actually, maybe not. He can now do a double check. And yeah, I could just be getting mated, actually, in that case. That's kind of unfortunate, I suppose, that that turned out like this. I can also take my pawn, and yeah, I'm just completely dead. Actually, this is now given the other guy the win. He's going to play queen here and have mate. So this actually was a blunder on this guy's part. So yeah, that kind of is unfortunate. So yeah, now it's going to win. So yeah, that was kind of too bad, I guess. I mean, sometimes yeah, the plan just doesn't work because they just gang up on you and there's not much you can do. And maybe I should have tried to attack a little bit sooner and helped out yellow. But okay, I gambled that yeah, would that they would try to attack each other and it just didn't work out. So yeah, it sucks to lose a lot of rating points like that, but sometimes it happens. So yeah, and it's nice 1700. So, yeah, it's very hard I find to get your rating up once you get past 1700 or so. And I did once get I think nearly 1800 on this rating, but yeah, it's kind of hard from this point. Anyway, I hope you found this video interesting, and I'll see you in the next one.